Old man doing a podcast. Real weirdos. We have English degrees. Real weirdos. We talk about movies for way too goddamn long. Welcome back, everybody, to the Reel Weirdos podcast. Or maybe not welcome back. Maybe just welcome, as the case may be. I don't know. I don't know how many, regulars we have week to week. Let us know. Let us know if you're a regular. That sounds nice. But yeah, we are the Reel Weirdos, 1.5 white men with English degrees who talk about movies for way too goddamn long. And we hope you're doing okay today. We know the madness is crazy. We know the world is crazy, and we hope you're doing all right. But today, and hopefully bringing you some amount of normalcy, we are here to talk about The Northman, a 2022 film from director Dave Eggers. Wait, Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bungling it immediately. Who's Dave Eggers?
Dave Eggers is a writer and an author.
Oh, that's it.
McSweeney's
That's
publishing house up in San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote The Circle.
He's an interesting writer.
They made a movie about that with Tom Hanks that I didn't see, but I liked the book a lot. Anyway, Alex, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to talk about The Northman. Robert Eggers. I almost just did it too. Jesus.
Yeah, infecting you now.
I'm ready to talk about his third film, I think.
It is his third film.
Okay. I know we're fans of the other two, the first two.
Yeah, so, I mean, The Northman, it's a Viking revenge movie. We were very excited about it, as were a lot of, fans of cinema.
Yeah.
Because we were big fans of his first two movies. He feels like, I don't know if you call him like a vanguard of a new breed of cinema.
He's one of them for sure, yeah.
He's one of the most interesting and best new filmmakers working today. He's in his late 30s, I believe. Mid to early 30s when he started, but he made The Vitch, which was one of the best movies of 2015, and then he followed it up with The Lighthouse, which was one of the best movies of 2019. And you're like, great, keep going, man. And this one was his first sort of foray into higher budget filmmaking. I believe the budget was $60 million. Ended up ballooning into about $90 million when the COVID restrictions made things a little more difficult. But we were excited about this, and I am keen to know, Alex, my friend, Alex, my dude, Alex, my co-host, what did you feel about this film?
I thought it was pretty epic, if that's like a word that I can use. I don't necessarily mean it in like the superlative sense. I mean it in the more literal sense. Like, this movie's big, right? Like, it's a long, winding story. It takes place spatially over a long time. The sets and just the extras and all of the choreography that went into all the craziness it's very apparent on the film that it's like his biggest project, I thought that it was pretty good. I thought that it was kind of stunted in some areas.
Oh, interesting.
But it also felt like much more traditional than some of his other films, if that makes sense. It kept his style and it kept his flavor for sure. But it I don't know, something about his first two movies, it totally took you off the rails of traditional and conventional cinema, right? It was you're on this crazy journey. And this one was more, I don't know. It just felt more like a movie to me.
Okay. But
I mean, there are some aspects to it that are I thought were just totally badass and just outright awesome. There's so many Skyrim, Elden Ring references I could make right now that it just had that feeling,
Oh man, yeah, a lot of badass Norseness happening.
So that was all really cool. I don't know. It just didn't blow me out of the water, I guess. Like, we just did a film, right, that was just like mind-boggling and life-changing and whatnot. So I don't know if it's playing off of that dynamic in any way, but I definitely disagree with, like, I'm upset that it didn't do that well at the box office. I will say that.
Yeah,
I think
we will get into
better.
that.
So
We'll definitely get into that. It's interesting, man. This is one of those movies where I was super curious to know what you felt and if your reaction would mirror mine. Because this happens with us. It's like sometimes a movie will come out by a filmmaker that we both really enjoy, and I'll see it and I'll be kind of lukewarm on it, and I'll be like, I wonder if Alex felt the same thing. And it's interesting that you did, because I have almost the same argument as you.
Wait, really? For this movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no
for
shit.
sure.
Oh, fuck.
I admire the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's tremendously well made, of course. It's directed by Robert Eggers. He's still fully in command of his tone and like the style and filmmaking, and it is much more lavish of a production than he's been able to do before. But something about it kind of left me cold. It's like I respected it more than I liked it, and I don't exactly know why. But there are some sort of details that lead into the analysis that we can do here. But I mean, first of all, let's talk about this presentation, right? I mean, it is glorious.
Oh my.
The movie feels and looks tremendously good. I mean, it just does. It's dirty, it's gritty. It feels pretty authentic.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm not a historian, a Viking historian, or any kind of historian really, but I mean, it really feels like you're just thrust into this whole other world, which is something I always appreciate.
Even like even being able to throw it so far back in time, it did seem like foreign, like at a like fantasy, like even though they were using real names for places and things like that, right? And some of the set, not the set, excuse me, some of like the locations. Yeah, exactly. Some of the locations that they shot at looked absolutely gorgeous. And like you said, it's like Eggers, like, it's funny because I've never seen him shoot huge landscape shots like that. You know, and like in The Lighthouse and in The Witch, like it was much more closed in, I feel like.
Those are very claustrophobic movies.
Yeah, and this
they
one is
basically
huge.
take place in one location.
Yeah, like the Witch kind of moves around in the little homestead, and then the lighthouse.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in too long. I guess I just have like very specific scenes that are stuck in my head, but the rest of it is a little bit hazy after 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to
Maybe I
see
need to
Anya
revisit it.
Taylor-Joy come back and like collaborate with him again. You obviously can tell that like she appreciates working with him.
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe. Just throw that one in there.
Oh yeah, Willem Dafoe is just born to be in movies like this, just like these weird fucking roles. He's so perfect.
But then, and also in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we've talked about his sort of ethos before, where if he believes in your vision, then he wants to help you in any way he can. He's just like a cool person,
Absolutely.
a cool artist.
Exactly.
To your point about this movie feeling epic, it does, but and I don't know if this is me, like this is a problem with my own expectations. Is I thought it would be kind of more epic. I thought it would be more of a globetrotter, I guess.
Okay.
Because it does have that quality at first where it's jumping from location to location, but then it kind of settles down in the second half when they get to that village where he's just going to like perpetrate his revenge.
Yeah.
And there are like different scenes within that where he goes and fights the Draugr, decapitates it, sticks its head up its own ass.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. But this goes into the point about it being a mid-budget production, like $60 million. This isn't the budget of a Marvel movie, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe, and I also totally want to explore why this movie kind of left me cold-ish.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. Like, I don't exactly know why, and I hope we can get to the bottom of it. But within my research, I found that Eggers did not have final cut of this film. I want to stress before I go into this that I did not know this going in. I had this in no way colored my viewing. But the studio, like, I guess they were nervous giving him this much money to make a movie and knowing that he makes movies that are fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes movies that are not for general audiences. They're really, really like specific art house kind of features. So, I mean, I can kind of see their perspective if you're bankrolling this weird director with $60-90 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
You don't want him to like make a weird one, but they did take away his final cut. And I don't know how much that plays into my perceptions at all, but he himself has said, here's some quotes. "Frankly, I don't think I will do it again, even if it means not making a film this big ever again. And by the way, I'd like to make a film this big. I'd like to make one even bigger, but without control, I don't know. It's hard on my person." You know what I mean?
Yeah, working with like the studio execs and everything in like the cutting room. You know, that can be probably like just absolutely like talk about the opposite of a creative process, right? Just like,
yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, you know, it was when I say epic, I mean almost like in the sense that it's like a traditional epic and it's almost like tropic, like in the sense that it felt kind of predictable. I didn't feel invigorated by the story. Okay, so I hate to keep bringing up his prior movies. I feel like I've never done this much with
that's fair. There's only
director.
3, so it becomes interesting when there's that sort of small of a body work, right?
Yeah, it's like there's this sense that in The Witch, that's a crazy and like pretty original story, and it gets my mind moving, right? And then he plays on that. It's this family that is so religious, even for the puritanical values of the new colonies, that they get kicked out and they're on their own in this, you know, godforsaken wilderness. That's cool. Then you have this one where this guy gets sent on an assignment where he goes to this crazy, like, isolated lighthouse when he meets this interesting bedfellow. And then this one,
yeah.
This one is just like, it's
a straightforward revenge story.
Absolutely.
With a twist.
With a little bit
right?
of royalty, like revenge, a little bit of the mythology and the gods. But then there is a twist.
Yeah.
Which was refreshing. It was cool. Like the little...
You're like, oh, there's no good guy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, great. But you've seen that before as well. It's like, oh, the morality is twisted now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a one-to-one. The revenge is necessary and, justified.
It's all like interlinked in different ways.
Your father was an asshole, so are you, so am I.
Your mom,
There's no real good guy in the movie.
Yeah.
But I think you're getting into what sort of left me cold about it, which is, expecting something grander is not necessarily a problem. That was just me not really knowing how big the movie was or whatever, and I kind of got Revenant vibes, like The Revenant, when it started and they had that battle scene, especially because it's cold and there's these really long takes, like really long intricate takes that are just fucking badass as well when he's like dispatching people in the village.
Just being primal. Yeah.
Men just being primal, exactly. But that's a minor detail. The bigger problem is that I expected it to be more abstract.
Mm-hmm.
I expected it to be more thought-provoking.
Yeah.
I expected it to be more like a Robert Eggers movie.
Dude.
And it feels like it's halfway between a Robert Eggers movie and a traditional movie. And it's like, that's cool. I think we need more movies like this that aren't just, movies or Marvel movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like what I want from Eggers, it feels watered down.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed the filmmaking. I think it's a really great movie. But I don't know. At the end, I was like, oh, all right. and then I went about my day. It wasn't
Yeah.
like at the end of Everything Everywhere All at Once where I was like, holy shit, that was amazing.
Right? Like,
Or at the end of Eggers' other movies where I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit, that was amazing.
I know. It's not like
I was
setting
just
the
like,
world
huh.
on fire.
That was a good production. That was a really classy film.
Yeah.
And then I went about my life and didn't think about it again until I was preparing notes for this.
You don't need to expect grandness, and it's okay to like even kind of expect it, but there were moments in the film where Eggers' weirdness was showing. First scene that really caught me was the witch that he sees, right, with the blind witch with the crown of wheat and like the shells for eyes, who's telling him basically his fortune.
Yeah, was it Bjork? Wasn't that Bjork?
Oh, was it? Damn, I didn't.
Or was that another witch? There are a couple. The first one, yeah, I think the first one's Bjork, the lady.
Black and white, like all painted.
I forget.
So it's just, I thought they were really going to lean into some of that stuff, but that was just more of a little flavoring on the side, because the story was straight Revenant, traditional, like, I'm going after this person that wronged me, you know? So yeah, like, even the hallucinatory scene when him and his father, like, presumably take the, like, some type of psychoactive drugs, and they hallucinate with the jester, who is Willem Dafoe's character, in the hut.
That's the Willem Dafoe when they're, like, barking and farting and stuff.
That was the beginning of the film, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, here we go. Like, this is, like, I thought they were going to go all in on that thing. But they didn't. So, I don't know. It relied more on a traditional narrative and storyline that I'm more, like, well used to. I'm seeing a bunch that it didn't blow up, and it didn't really invigorate anything different in my mind, you know? Performances were great. The direction, like you said, was great, and some of the shots were just absolutely perfect. I have a few in my mind that I can think of right now.
Is it when they played Viking Quidditch?
That whole scene was pretty fucking badass.
I loved that scene.
When he was carrying the bag of like instruments, right, and his friend was like, "Oh, you've never seen this before." I was like, "This is a sport. This look like sport tools. They don't look like tools like martial weapons or anything."
No, they're gonna go play soccer.
I know. It's like field hockey. Viking Quidditch.
No, but it's okay. So, speaking about how this sort of operates in terms of the audience, right? It's interesting that we didn't like it, I think, or not didn't like it, but it escaped us a bit because we wanted it to be more weird. And this is an interesting point about the sort of audience expectation where I think like people like us are kind of outliers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it didn't do very well at the box office, is because while it wasn't weird enough for us, I think at the same time it's going to be still too weird for general audiences.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's like really watered down. I keep wanting to say Dave Eggers. No, Robert Eggers. It feels like watered down Robert Eggers.
No, it does.
You know what I mean? Like what's a general audience member who's expecting like a Gladiator type movie gonna think of this, you know?
I thought of Gladiator a few times while I watched the film, but only in glimmers. So you're right. It's not like that, like, high trajectory, like, fire hose of fucking just, like, beautiful action nostalgia that we got in, like, early 2000s.
Well, it also doesn't like, signpost its sentimentality in a Hollywood production type of way.
It is predictable, I would say, in that sense, but it doesn't, like, signpost it. And it does it clever enough and pretty enough that like I'll accept it. But like, I don't know, there were some things that I was just like, I thought you were going in a different direction with this, but I was wrong. Like, you know, the biggest surprise to me was actually Nicole Kidman's little thing, like her twist, her like revelation. I didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't either. That's the one thing where, like I said, it's a straightforward revenge story. It just has a twist. But that doesn't really change a whole lot. You just kill her too.
Yeah.
You know, you end up killing a few more people than you expected.
So there was another movie I thought of that I wanted to ask you about. Okay. Because it's like we almost have two polar opposites right here. We have this film on one end, which is very like, I mean, you can tell that he's vying to be historically representative in an accurate way. Like, there's like
That's what they say. I'm not sure about that plastic surgery.
Oh my god. On
Nicole Kidman
I know,
ages
dude.
about 5 minutes in 30 years.
I know, dude.
And her plastic surgery is very obvious.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
She looks good. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty good plastic surgery, but I'm sitting there thinking like a Viking lady at the age of 75 is not going to look like Nicole Kidman.
I know. It was pretty crazy.
This is not a unique thing I'm saying, by the way.
Yeah.
This is a pretty a lot of other people have picked up on this.
It's just the reality of Hollywood.
for good reason. It's the reality of Hollywood. Yeah, I have to wonder where it was that Eggers had to meet the studio in the middle on, like what things. Was Nicole Kidman part of that? Was everybody's perfect teeth a part of that? I don't, because it's like you can only be historically accurate to a certain degree when you're dealing with Hollywood.
Yeah.
I guess. And yeah, I don't know. It's
so what
I also want to say it's like hard to say what the Eggers cut would have been, right? It's hard to know where the fault lies in this movie being what it is, if fault even needs to be assigned.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can assign some of it to the studio because they had the final say on it. How much you can give to Eggers for, acquiescing to their demands or however it went or agreeing to it. Like, there's only so much you could do to get the film actually released, right? If you bitch and take home the reels, they'll just kick you off the project, reshoot it with a different director. And,
yeah,
it's like,
so
he has no intellectual property rights to the movies. But the other film that I was thinking of that I thought...
Oh, yeah, you're going to test me on something here.
Well, it was more just like, I was thinking of like 300. And I was wondering like where this movie takes it and kind of tones it down and stylizes some of the like things down to make it more like realistic. You do have this weird like primal relation to the stuff that goes down in 300, right? And it's like this weird epic royal struggles, these like weird struggles of history that have these weird implications. And like, I don't know, like I thought that the whole thing about his like kids being like kings in the end were just like, it just added a weird level of grandiosity that I didn't feel like needed to be there.
Wait, was there... Which movie are you talking about?
You're talking
about the Northman?
Yeah, I'm talking about that in relation to like 300. Like, so as a general movie-going audience, because we were talking about that before.
Yeah. Was there something about his kids being kings?
Oh yeah, him and Anya Taylor-Joy. Like,
fuck, Alex, I've completely forgotten that part.
There's like this whole thing where like the witch tells him.
Oh, it's like he sees it in a dream or something?
It's like a vision, yeah. And the witch tells him like you have to choose between being kind to your kin or your like thirst for revenge. And so he's like,
oh, that's right.
Fuck it, I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna save my like pregnant lover Olga, who's bearing children who will one day be kings and queens.
That's right.
And then so it's just like part of that. I was just like, that's where I started to see the appeal to like the general movie going audience. And it's weird because it has the elements of it. So it's interesting to me that it wasn't quite weird enough for us, but it was a little weird, too weird for them to really boost it at the box office because it has the violence of 300. It has the grandiosity of 300. It has the big buff like headlining actor of 300, right?
That's brutal, yeah.
That movie made so much fucking money. And it was so popular, and like I couldn't figure out necessarily why. Different time. Art was in a different place.
Different time. 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
And like the whole stylized thing was like, whoa, like...
Oh, that was Zack Snyder pioneering the now defunct, except in Morbius, I guess, speed up, slow down thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Speed up, slow down, kablam, in the action. Yeah.
So this definitely...
That looked really fucking cool at the time. Now, in Morbius, not so much.
This one like did, junk. Though, like, it took more traditional filmmaking techniques when it came to the action, for sure. Like, there wasn't a lot of shaky cam, right? Which I'm sure you loved.
I didn't throw out the Iñárritu reference for nothing, the Revenant reference. It's like, that has some of the greatest action ever.
Yeah.
That opening action scene is astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. It's some of the greatest action filmmaking of this century. And same with this one. I mean, when they go into that village and they're just wholesale doing the slaughter and there's those really long action takes, that shit is badass, Alex.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's never that cool again, if I can levy another complaint. I was like, he catches the spear, throws it back at him.
I know.
It has these really long shots, these long tracking shots where he's moving through. And you're just like I've never seen Viking badassitude represented cinematically that well.
Oh, it's so raw.
And then it never did again. It had cool moments after that, but nothing that matched that. Where I was like, yes, Alexander Skarsgard is the man.
Dude, it was a pretty Indiana Jones moment, right? He just
this is my general audience version of myself being like,
well, yeah.
The action was cool and then it wasn't cool, but this is valid, okay, people? It's valid.
I mean, he chucked when the spear comes and he catches it, I remember saying out loud, oh, whoa, that was cool. He turns it around and throws it back, and you're right, that was the little bit that they had of it. I don't know. It's really hard for me to talk about this movie for some reason, Jesse, and I don't know why.
Me too, dude. Me too. It's weird, right?
It's definitely trying to present itself as it's historical, right? And it's I also thought of Valhalla Rising. It's almost impossible not to think of Refn as well.
I thought about that too, and I was thinking about that too, and I was like, why do I love Valhalla Rising so much more? I love it so much more, and that is a movie that almost nobody's gonna like.
That one is the
because
modernist
it is so abstract.
That one's the modernist, postmodernist poem of Viking culture and of a Viking journey, and this one is much more of the traditional epic. It's a much more fleshed out version of it, but it almost like you said, it waters it down a little bit, right?
But a little bit, just enough to frustrate me.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be weird to people. It doesn't have the swelling orchestral score of Gladiator. There's not the music, and the filmmaking isn't gonna tell you how to feel. I think it's still gonna be challenging for a lot of people to watch and get through. It's just we are the real weirdos. We're used to fucking weirdo cinema, and we have expectations for weirdo cinema. And okay. It's from what I understand, the studios put heavy pressure on the edit based on test screenings. Oh. And if there's anything a Robert Eggers movie should never, ever do, it's to compromise for the sake of the masses. And the fact that this happened, even if he says he's happy about it and that this is a good version of the movie, it gives me a gross feeling. And it tinges my view. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand... you don't want to Josh Trank the situation, which I probably need to explain. You want to keep it civil. So there was a movie in 2015, I think, called Fantastic Four, or Fant Four Stick, as it looks in the title.
Okay.
And was being directed by a guy named Josh Trank, who was coming off the heels, little indie darling, of a movie called Chronicle, I believe.
Okay.
They got him to make this movie, this Fantastic Four superhero movie.
Okay.
And he had his own vision for it. And he wanted to do all this cool Cronenberg body horror type of stuff.
Which would fit in the Fantastic Four universe, you know?
Yeah. And you can see little elements of that, but then the studio completely took over control and fucked him over. I think in to be fair, a much bigger way than Eggers. And, did reshoots, did final cut, but we're actively fucking with production while he was making the movie. To the point where he showed up to the sets drunk, was just totally out of sorts, and kind of ruined his career by being uncivil, is a very plain way to put it.
Damn.
to the studios. He called them out, and they kind of made sure he didn't work again.
That's kind of brutal.
It's brutal. We'll have to look in. I'll do some research here right now, actually. I didn't intend to bring this up, but let's see what he's done recently. But the point is, it's difficult to know where the actuality lies in terms of what the Eggers cut was, how civil he's being for his career with the studio.
Yeah.
You know? Like, we don't really know. We just have his word. And it feels pretty accurate because the movie is very good, but it's also not totally his movie.
Yeah. I feel like something about it. It's like it has like a squeaky wheel, Jesse. There's something like it's like a humming machine that everything is working kind of like it's working the way it's supposed to be working, but it's like something about it's like leaking oil, or there's like a rattling sound that I can't identify. And even when I pull
Is it Nicole Kidman?
Oh God. I mean,
is it under the skin?
No, I don't think anything can get under that skin. I think that skin is hard as a fucking rock. Man. That shit is like one of those runes carved out of marble.
Oh man.
But it's just I don't know. There was something.
What is it? What's the wheel?
It like
what's the squeak?
It like stumbled in areas that I felt like it just didn't hit as hard as I thought it wanted me to hit. Like the primal shit was fucking crazy. Like watching dudes fight like butt ass naked was pretty like it was intense.
Yeah.
You know,
let's segment this. Like, what do we love about the movie? What do we like?
Okay.
The sort of hardcore brutal masculinity is interesting.
Yes. I mean,
it's like really raw.
Yeah, like that'll just be like one of the guilty pleasures of the movie. I loved the like leaning into the lore of the film, of the culture. I love like that scene at the beginning was one of my favorite scenes. I mean, the scene where they're like hallucinating in the den, you know, and they're like levitating above the fire with Willem Dafoe. That was all like fucking really cool. Again, the shots. Specifically, there's this one shot that at the very beginning, you know, when the kid Almir, he's like, or Almin, excuse me, Amlin, he's like, oh, he's coming home, and it like does this thing where it zooms in on his face, but then it like turns around and you just see like his little tuft of hair as the ships are coming in. I was like, okay, that's Dave Eggers doing his thing. And then there was a scene with like boats
Dave
on
Eggers.
a rigger.
Who's Dave Eggers?
God damn it. This fucking name thing. Robert Eggers doing his thing.
I have infected you.
Yeah. And then there's like
giving you the monkeypox.
There's a shot on like the river where the boats are crossing. You know, the different like boats when it's like 20 years, some odd years later, and Skarsgard's all buffed out rowing the boat. And I was like, this shot was like little shots like that were just populated throughout the movie. And then the acting performances overall were pretty stellar.
Performances are great. Even Nicole Kidman did a great performance. It's just funny to see plastic surgery in Viking land. Yeah. Just a note for the audience out there. We were going to record this episode maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah. We ended up getting delayed just because life happens.
Technical difficulties.
So like, it's interesting thinking about this movie in the sense that I haven't seen it in 5 days and how much of it has left my brain. Like, I could probably give you the same episode on Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks later, as I did if I seen it the night before. But this one, after 5 days, a lot of it has left my brain.
Yeah.
You're saying these shots right now, I don't remember half the shots you're talking about.
I mean,
I remember my general feeling. I remember scattered images. It's very strange. Like, we keep coming back to how strange it is to talk about this movie because I expected to love it.
It was pretty like heavily expected and like people were raring for it to come out, right? Like they were like, oh, like the trailer just got released, the poster just got released. This
was the most exciting movie of the year in terms, like, as far as I was concerned.
Absolutely.
You know?
Because, like, it had been a while since he had done something. And it's crazy to see these directors coming out of the pandemic and coming out of COVID when everything was kind of put on halt. And you're like, okay, now you have no excuse. Like, you have had 2 years to, like, meditate and, you know, like, marinate in your ideas. Let's see him. Start spitting them out. And there's been some good movies that have been coming out and have been spun out of the craziness of the world that we live in. So yeah, I was super excited for this movie. It was like probably out of all of like the filmmakers that we've talked about, I was most like anticipated for Eggers' next movie. I was like waiting for it, and I was super excited for it.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest new boys.
But it's not, it's again, we've talked about this before too. This is definitely not a demerit on his career. Like shit, like if you're trying to play the studio game and you make a movie like this, it'll go down. Like people will appreciate it in due time.
That's the thing is like, if you're going to work within the evil empire, within the studio system, it's amazing that the movie's this good.
Yeah.
You know, and we're being very critical, but I do want to like, re-emphasize that I think this movie's very good. The only reason I'm being so critical of it is because of expectation and because of Robert Eggers' other movies. Like, okay, so one of the things also is this talk of like, are real movies dead in the cinemas, right? Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting part of that, where people have considered this like the nail in the coffin for real movies. There have been some others that have failed. So like this movie was, let me see. It's around about $90 million all told. And then, it only made like 80 million or something worldwide.
Yeah.
And that does seem sad. And you'd think it would, the whole death of cinema thing, there's some argument there. But then you have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which sort of changes the argument.
Definitely.
Where that movie was 25 million and made what, like 90 million?
Yep.
Something like that?
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because I think one of the coolest things about when we talk about all of these things and like these predictors and whatnot is that you never really know when something is going to like hit. And when it's going to hit like a heartstring or like just some nerve in society that just absolutely like opens the floodgates to something new, right? And I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once did do that. And I wasn't expecting it to. And I expected this movie to do that, but it didn't. So this one just
never what you expect, man.
Yeah, I mean, this one kind of
never what you expect.
It just fell into like a more, like I said, just a more traditional story for me. It wasn't thought-provoking, which is, a phrase you used at the beginning, which I think is perfectly fitting and apt.
It's not. It's like kind of evocative. It's probably really weird if you're not used to watching weird movies. But yeah, for me, it was like, that was good. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't. It's definitely no Valhalla Rising, which is a movie that was made for $20 by Nicholas Winding Refn in 2009.
Yeah, which is extremely evocative.
It's like, I don't know. Maybe you want to choose, right? You want to choose your Hollywood Viking revenge movie, or choose to do just a weird psychedelic movie. I don't know. Alex. You'd think there would be room for something in between. There definitely is.
Yeah.
This is pretty close to that, but I'm not going to remember this movie.
Yeah, it's not really. I don't know.
And that makes me sad.
It makes me a little sad too, but not worried, I will say. I just don't have.
I'm not worried.
Oh, you're worried?
No, I said I'm not worried either.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, yeah.
I think Eggers will go on to make many other great films, probably with a smaller budget.
Yeah.
Because when you're a real artist, having somebody have final cut of your art is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and plenty of directors can attest to that, and artists can attest to that, musicians as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Any industry that is artistic and creative that has some type of overseeing or like standardized administrative agency like a studio that distributes and like owns the legalities and the red tape to all of that creativity, it gets really like, I don't know. I mean, it sucks because I want directors like Eggers to get to a level where they can just totally shun that world, right? And I don't know if he's there yet, but like people like David Lynch can, like people.
Lynch hasn't made a movie since 2006, man.
Oh, but I mean, like he can just kind of be like, I'm not going to work with the studio if I don't feel like.
Well, he doesn't need to. His movies don't cost that much.
Yeah, and like his like reputation is already there that he doesn't need to like live and die by what he does in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Well, I take your point that like a really interesting filmmaker doesn't necessarily need the studios.
Yeah.
It's just a problem when you want to make something like The Northman, which is going to cost a lot of fucking money.
There was like a little David Lean in there, where it's like I saw him wanting to make this kind of like historical epic, like real big wooden boats, huge like village sets with like lots of extras and everything. I'm just reminded of, I just recently saw a clip of Cleopatra, when she arrives.
Oh my
Elizabeth
God.
Taylor like arrives in fucking Rome or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know, just watching this film from like the 1940s, 1950s, and like the humongous energy and set design that went into it. It was just like, it was a production. And it was like almost theatrical, right? You have like ropes and grips and people holding lights and like carts moving all over the place. And you're like, we got to make this fucking movie, And like, you have David Lean being like, we need to blow up this fucking bridge and this train needs to crash. And like, it's just hectic and like it transfers onto the screen. And this one was, I don't know, it just felt a little more like, okay.
Well, it's more stripped down. It was only $60 million. I think the $90 million budget came in because of like COVID craziness and just like
shit after.
Sort of technicalities. Like, I don't know, just trying to get production to keep going.
Yeah.
When the world was shutting down. So it is like really mid-budget. But I don't know. We can transfer over to like those old Hollywood epics are hilarious.
Oh, dude.
I think I don't know. We can't just chat cast it at this point. I think we've said what we want to say about the Northman.
Yeah, I mean definitely
more points may come up as we go along here and just shoot the shit. But I mean, definitely see it. I'm angry, Alex. I'm mad. I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at myself and you and the movie and everything right now because I feel like we should be giving this movie like props, right? Because it is better and more interesting than 90% of the shit out there.
Well, I mean,
it's just disappointing.
We do still have awards to give, which might reinvigorate
we could
your
give some
soul.
awards. We could give some awards. I was gonna say though, I've been watching so many of those old Hollywood fucking like epics,
Yeah, just the production.
I say so many. I've watched like 5, and I cannot ever watch it one again. They're so fucking boring. Cleopatra, the fall of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
The greatest story ever told. Like these like 50s, 60s, even 40s Hollywood epics where you have like a bunch of white people with like wooden Roman soldier swords and like Roman outfits.
Just like
And
hundreds of people.
The filmmaking is such garbage. It's all about just the production design because nobody had ever seen like a production that big before.
Yeah.
And it's just about like having the gaudiest, biggest golden sets you can have.
Oh, dude! Like
with
it's like
Elizabeth, with fucking like James Mason as a general.
Dude, you have like think of like the theater, right? You have a limited space. You have like only so much that you can do to show like water and shit like that, and then film comes into play, and like very quickly, these guys that were like versed in theater and like grew up watching silent films or like the early stages of what we know as film performance, and they just take it to a whole new level with their 1950s and 1960s technology, right? They're like, we're going to drive out to the fucking Mojave Desert and we're going to build a like life-size scale quarter of a Roman city. We're going to have Liz
the
Taylor.
Parthenon stuff.
Yeah, we're going to have Liz Taylor
Elizabeth
roll
Taylor.
down, and I need 2 tons of lumber so we can make the Sphinx. And it's just like, but you're only going to be using this for one shot. But that's all before CGI, baby. So all those extras are real people. Almost all the way until the eye can see, until you hit the painted set board, right? Like, it's fucking insane. And you're right that I guess you could compare that to the Marvel movies of today. People just wanted to see the gaudiness. They didn't give a fuck about like how the films were being shot.
I don't know. That's its whole own fucking argument. I thought we cured you of this. I thought we cured you of your Marvel movie.
No, I just mean like
bullshit.
Like that's like the big popular thing that like movies had to have. Like when you were in the studio and you're like,
get Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Exactly. Like you could be a screenwriter that's like a little.
She'll have 75 costumes all laid in gold and pearls.
That's what the kids want these days. I just saw a Ben-Hur birthday party. You know, it's like...
You know what? Ben-Hur is the only one that is worth watching.
Yeah.
That escapes all of this. Just watch Ben-Hur and realize that there are like 100 other ones that are not as good and go about your life. But watch Ben-Hur because it's great. Yeah, but you don't need to watch Cleopatra. You don't need to watch fucking... I don't even know. I can't even remember the names of them, Alex.
Well, it's just like...
I can't remember.
You have these mousy little stories or like traditional stories that then the studio takes and then they just blow the fuck up, you know? It could have been like the Northman could have been more just like, you know, I want to kind of do this like traditional revenge tale that's like kind of built on these like vignettes, kind of like Valhalla Rising, where it's like things are more evocative, abstract, and then there's a little twist to the mother thing at the end, you know? And the studio's like, yeah, that sounds good. All right, let's put boats in it. Let's also put like 10 battle scenes. I want you to get a 10-pack, Alexander Skarsgard, and I want to see you just rip some fucking ass.
I mean, he did have to do that.
Oh, dude. I mean, he was absolutely
Well, cast Kirk Douglas as your big brother.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fucking hilarious. Like,
oh my God, dude. So after we decided to like sort of move this back a bit, I watched a couple other movies that had Viking action in them. One of them was The Vikings. Wait, what year did this come out? Let me look this up. Starring Kirk Douglas. I watched The Vikings from 1958 with Kirk Douglas, and boy oh boy is this movie stupid. It is just old. It's so old. And that's not necessarily a problem. The astute listener will know that I love old cinema when it's good, but it is boy oh boy have we come a long way in terms of authenticity and craft in the movie world. And that made me appreciate, the Northman.
Did you say
so
this
much
came
more.
out in 58?
58.
Okay, so it was
Vikings.
before Spartacus then. Huh.
I believe it was before Spartacus.
I think Spartacus was like 60 or 61. So it was like just before. So I just wonder if like he was like getting into his little his little sword play thing at the time.
Yeah, he's getting into his groove. Yeah, he's supposed to play like a 19-year-old, but he's obviously like 42. And it's every cliche about Vikings you can think of, shot very flatly on these old Hollywood sets. And it's funny. It's funny in that sense, but man, it gets boring. It does not stand the test of time.
I mean, Kirk, talk about prolific though. That guy was in fucking so many movies. That guy, Kirk Douglas, was definitely an interesting person.
I don't know much about him as a person, but he definitely made a lot of movies, man.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. The other movie I watched, and I watched it a couple nights ago, was The 13th Warrior.
Oh, God.
I didn't really put it on knowing that it was Viking. I just remembered that it was a fun movie I watched when I was 12.
What do you mean you didn't know it was a Viking, dude? I mean, does Antonio Banderas not scream like Norse Viking man?
So, right. Well, he plays an Arab.
Yeah, I know. I looked up the movie after you sent it to me.
Which he's not. You all know this. He's Mexican, I believe. Or he's Spanish. I'll cut in whatever I need to right there.
Puerto Rican, Cuban, whatever.
He's Puerto Rican. He's Cuban. He's blah 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 blah. No, he plays an Arab, and he meets up with some Vikings for some reason that I can't remember, even though I watched the movie 2 days ago. And there's a hilarious scene where, over the course of 3 minutes, he learns their language when he's sitting around the campfire, and he's just like listening to them talk and laugh. And they're like blah 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 blah, speaking in, I don't know, Swedish or Norwegian, one of these languages that are languages. And it sits there and he's listening, and it just translates to English before our ears. And they're like, how did you learn our language? And he's like, I listened.
Beautiful.
And it's the movie's bad.
Beautiful. That's it.
And then they go and fight orcs,
Ugh.
basically, or primitive tribes.
So you said it was a
I don't know.
book?
Oh yeah,
It's based on
Adam
a
was
Michael
talking
Crichton
about
book.
this. It's based on a Michael Crichton book.
Omar Sharif.
I don't know.
Man.
It's not worth watching. Don't watch it. It's worth watching. Maybe watch the first half hour, just for like some terrible dialogue and some like hilarious manliness that you don't get anymore because it was the 90s.
Apparently one of the biggest box office bombs in history with a loss of $130 million. Ouch.
Yeah. So maybe the Northman echoes aren't too far off. This movie lost money.
That's brutal.
It's unfortunate, but I don't know what they expected really. I mean, if you showed me this movie and you told me the budget and you told me, this is gonna release in theaters, I'd be like, yeah, that's not gonna make money. The Northman.
Well, that was a movie. No, I'm just kidding. Ugh, I'm so hot right now.
Yeah?
I just had to close my window because some fucking asshole outside is doing stuff.
Oh, I thought you were looking at pictures of Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yeah, and just her beautiful wax face in that firelight. Dude, it was weird. Like, it looked scary at some points. I was like, is she's supposed to be like a supernatural being of some kind?
Do you think that was part of the draw there?
She definitely had the wickedness factor going, like, once he confronts her and everything. I was like, okay. But see, then that falls into the kind of the traditional thing, too. I was like, ooh, the wicked mother. Like,
yeah. I feel kind of bad. I feel bad about this. I don't know. Should we do some awards, Alex?
let's do the awards.
This episode has been strange. The Phil Hoffman Award for Best Performance. Who are we giving it to?
I'll have to give it to Alexander Skarsgard, honestly. He carried the film pretty well.
What about Willem Dafoe and his 3 shots?
I mean, he was in it too as a head, a little waxed, petrified head.
Yeah. I want that head for my collection. I want the Willem Dafoe Viking head for my collection.
I want the Funko Pop of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give it to Skarsgard as well. He did a good job. I actually I read that it was his idea, this whole movie, essentially. Like, he pitched it to Eggers, and they sort of collaborated on it from there.
He had wanted to work on it for a little while, actually. Because, I mean, him being of that descent himself, he was, like, always very interested in it. And it got
Really? Skarsgard?
Yeah, I know, right?
You don't say.
Got shelved a few times, and then I think that Eggers came on and was, like, interested in it, and it was like, honestly, though, that shows just how good it is to maybe wait when you have a good idea. Because you'll have a good director come along who picks it up and is like, ooh, I kind of want to do something with this.
Yeah, if this had come from almost any other director, I would call it a minor masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's not like a failure or anything. You watched the movie. I'm sorry, by the way, about this show tonight. We're just all over the place. It happens. We're not always as cohesive as we are in the Everything Everywhere episode. But it's not like I lump him in my brain, Robert Eggers, that is, with another director. Who's the director of Ex Machina? What's his name again?
Oh, Alex Garland.
Alex Garland. Yeah. I lump him in with Alex Garland because they both broke onto the scene as filmmakers at around the same time, 2014, 2015, and have just been like putting out, the first couple movies are really great. And then you have seen the latest Alex Garland film, which I have not.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Men.
Yep.
Which I feel like we should talk about at some point because I'm interested to see it.
Yeah.
But your opinion is that it's a giant piece of crap.
I thought it was extremely boring, overhyped. It was it was just very airy. There was nothing to latch onto about it.
Oh.
I don't know. And it was also kind of pandering. It just wasn't really, I don't know. It just wasn't really my thing.
Well, I'm interested to see it, so we'll probably talk about it at some point. What was my point in bringing
I mean,
men up?
Ari Aster also is a director that I would put into the same category.
Aster, yeah. One of our first episodes is Midsummer.
Maybe Panos as well. You know, there's like a little
cadre of
I was gonna say cadre,
dudes.
but I was thinking of like a term for like horses, right? Like when you have
Oh,
a stable,
little pack.
a stable.
Ah, there you go.
There's like a good solid stable of young directors that I'm interested in, and some of them have made a little quirky movies here and there. But you know, Panos is one. Ari Aster, Eggers. I would even put Edgar Wright in that conversation, even though his
Edgar Wright has made like 7 movies though.
oh yeah, and like he's a little more like established.
Yeah.
And then
You know what you're getting there.
I always forget who's the director that did Pig.
Oh, I don't know. That was his first feature.
Exactly. So I would give him.
We
a
don't
shout.
know. Pig, starring Nicolas Cage. Go watch it unless you're easily bored. Michael Sarnowski is his name. So I had no memory of that. Apparently, he's directing A Quiet Place Part 3.
Oh God! Please let that movie just fuck it.
Why?
I hated
Why
the
are you
second
doing that?
one.
You just directed Pig. Go make your own movie.
I hated the second one. I know, right?
Don't
It's like,
do that.
why are you part of this? Like,
And then he'll make the next Marvel movie, and we'll have been robbed of a potentially great voice in cinema.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Those movies, man. The first one I liked. The second one it was so boring. It was just so repetitive.
I haven't seen them. I don't know. Wait, we were doing awards. God, we're scattered today. What's going on, Alex? What's up with us today?
I don't know. It's this damn movie.
It's this damn movie. It's got us discombobulated because it's great and it's not, and it's weird. We don't know what to make of it.
I would rename this movie The North Man.
The North.
Just the
The
North.
North Main.
Man.
The North
It's just
Space Man.
Yeah, it's just plain. It's just a man in the north.
It's not though.
I
It's
know.
really good. Fuck me. Ugh. Are you still listening, listeners? Let us know if you've made it this far. I'm curious. I Drink Your Milkshake Award for most memorable scene. What do you think?
Probably.
Viking Quidditch?
Yeah. I mean, that actually was probably the funniest scene to me.
That's the one for me. That's the one I think back to. I don't know.
The meditation scene or the hallucination scene at the very beginning with Willem Dafoe. It's probably my Drink Your Milkshake Award, because that's when I was like, I really thought we were going down the Eggers train.
I remember Willem Dafoe being there. I remember Alexander Skarsgård belching, and I remember the little kid farting. And then I don't remember the actual hallucination.
So it was Ethan Hawke who was belching. It was when it was his father who was doing it, and Alexander Skarsgård was not in the movie yet. He was it was him when he was younger.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that's
yeah.
after they walk out of that den.
Oh, that was Ethan Hawke. That's right.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Right when they
Forgot
walk
that
out of
too.
that like drug den after the morning after, presumably. It was like a rite of passage ritual, right? That's when the uncle comes with all the hooded men and kills Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. So is that that's your milkshake award?
That is my milkshake
The most memorable
award.
scene. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a runner up is just the whole first battle sequence when they are powering through that village and you just see the absolute animalistic destruction that the Norse warrior is capable of.
Yeah, that part was.
And it
pretty
never
cool.
reaches that level again, which I said earlier, but that's a criticism that I have as well.
You mean like when
Where I
he's
was like,
grown up, right? And like he's with the new group
Yeah.
and they're raiding the
Yeah,
fuck
he's
out
in
of
the
the
new
village.
group and they just fuck up this village. And while it's horrific, it's also badass.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, I want him to be that badass for the rest of the movie, and he's just not. He has moments, a lot of it's off camera. He'll butcher people and like set them up into like Norse shapes on buildings.
That one was cool. That part was like definitely, if we're gonna talk about Roller Girl Award, that one is gonna like, he arranged their bodies into like the shape of a sheep.
Yeah. It's oh god, I didn't write it down. I saw in my research that it was like a legitimate Viking symbol,
Oh.
or Norse symbol that says something. I don't remember. Y'all can look it up. I'm not gonna do it right now. But it's it's a thing. It means something. Things mean things, and things mean things in this movie. Regardless of our criticisms. Roller Girl Award for most uncomfortable scene. There's that one. I personally would give it to when I thought Alexander Skarsgard was gonna make out with his mama.
Oh my god.
Even though they're like 5 years different in their ages. I was like, that's not his mom at this point. That the suspension of disbelief had to happen for me at that, because I was like, those two people are like the same age.
I mean, they have played love interests before in another project, so
yeah,
very recently.
Exactly. Not even, you don't even need that. You're just like, you're 50, you're 55. With a lot of plastic. I
know. Yeah, that part was ridiculously uncomfortable. I'm glad that they pulled away from that. I didn't want them to explore the symbology or the like Oedipal overtones of that in any way. I was just like,
are you sure though? Like, what? Okay, what if the movie went that way?
Okay, so
and it explored that in gruesome detail. That would be really interesting, right?
Well, see, yeah, because like that's at that point though, I thought Nicole Kidman was almost like supernatural in a sense. The way that she was acting in that scene where she's just being so vilely like, unrepentant for all the things that she's done.
I will be your queen.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
we will rule together. And what if he fucked her? And what if they did that? And then the whole movie's like, it becomes this weird psychological descent.
Well, then
about
Willem
this
Dafoe,
man who fucks his mom.
I mean, Willem Dafoe would have been in it much more, and Lars von Trier probably would have been starting to direct.
Lars von Trier would have directed it, or he would have been just in the corner masturbating.
Seriously?
See, if the movie went that way, I would have been much more uncomfortable, and I probably would have loved it a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, it's
because
so rote. It's so like, I don't know.
I want movies like this to make me uncomfortable.
It is pretty vanilla,
The
right?
Vitch makes me uncomfortable.
If we can use that.
The Lighthouse
adjective.
makes me uncomfortable. Lars von Trier makes me uncomfortable. Fucking Robert Eggers has the capacity to be the new Lars von Trier. And your movies should make me uncomfortable. They should challenge me. And this movie didn't challenge me. It earned my respect. It earned my admiration, but it did not earn my love.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Frozen Banana Award for most comedic scene.
Definitely the Viking Quidditch scene where that big ass burly dude is running down the field, and I like straight up thought he was gonna show mercy to the little kid, and now he just like decks the shit out of him. I was like, oh fuck.
He was going to, but then Skarsgård saved his ass.
No, like he knocks him down and like knocks him the fuck out, and then he stands over
he knocks him down, but then he
Dude,
sets the Quidditch ball next to his head and is about to like blast him.
I was like, is that part of the game? Like,
that should have been in our fan version of this. That should have been part of it.
Oh, dude, I
that
thought
kid
that was
gets blasted in the noggin by big old fucking Hodor, Hodor Jones right there, and then Alexander Skarsgård bangs Nicole Kidman and sets up like a weird fucking empire of degeneracy. I don't know. Like the fucking
is your
North
old boy
Alabama
viewing coming into this in any way?
Oh, I don't know.
Talk about revenge and incestual.
Who would we cast Lars von Trier in this movie if we cast him?
Like, wait, cast him actually as an actor in the film?
Yeah. Why not?
Nicole Kidman.
Just add another character. We're doing our fan version now. Is he just somebody masturbating in the corner?
That's a good question.
Like doing a Nazi salute every once in a while?
Have him just play a horse. Butt-ass naked, full strapped up in a bit, and like just an extra riding
You
him.
just have Alexander Skarsgård riding Lars von Trier, but in the logic of the movie, it's a horse.
Yeah, no one
Nobody
says anything.
Comments on it.
There are other horses too. Like he's like real horses. Like there are other real horses, but no one's saying anything about Skarsgård's horse. Yeah, that would be fucking hilarious.
I think we're getting into like a really niche version of the audience that would accept this film. but that's okay. We're gonna have to like tone the budget down a bit, but okay, so this one's actually applicable. So we have the Willem Dafoe Award for most erotic scene.
Well, I mean,
the Willem Dafoe Award for most erotic scene.
Having sex under the moonlight and talking about mushrooms, right? Him and Anya Taylor-Joy doing their thing.
Yeah, a 50-year-old and a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Because it's Hollywood, baby.
He's a young 15-year-old strapping boy come to avenge his father.
Yeah, he's a young 49-year-old having sex with a woman born in 1999.
Nice.
Wait, how old is she? Let me look this up. I gotta know now. But you've already lost everyone listening to this show, so...
Yeah, I gotta go to bed.
1996. Oh, shit, my bad. Okay, 96. Jeez. All right.
96?
She's 96.
She looks great.
She looks great. I mean, that's a... What year is it? That's a 25-year-old woman. That's acceptable. But how old is old Skarsgard? I like how the image of him on IMDb is him without pants. It's him in like a full suit and tie, but no pants.
Perfect.
76.
Perfect.
76.
20 years
so,
older.
you know, yeah, 20 years. So just 20 years. So, I mean, okay, I take it all back. That's standard Hollywood. The standard Hollywood actor is going to be dating an actress or a model 20 years his younger, for sure.
Yeah.
Just ask Leo. You know, sometimes I have this thought, because I do want to write screenplays at some point, and I have this thought that I do the Reel Weirdos show, and some of the things that I've said about people in this industry are on record.
They'll come after you later.
If they ever see it. We're pretty small. It might just slip under the radar. We'll just change our names in the credits. Okay, Alex. Let's end this.
Let's do it.
Let's end it. We're at enough time here. Let's end this catastrophe.
All right, everyone.
I had fun even though this is a fucking Frankenstein of an episode where we really struggled to elucidate our thoughts on this movie, because it was hard. But do you have any final thoughts on The Northman or anything else we've talked about?
No, just go see it still. I'll still recommend it. Doesn't fall out of like my favor that much to not recommend it, but it's not a movie I'll be revisiting anytime soon, because it didn't provoke any thoughts that I feel like were worth exploring any further. So that's about it for me. But it's still great, greatly like, well, it's like still such a well done movie.
Yeah, it's really well made. I was sort of on the edge of my seat for about half of it, mostly based on just how good the filmmaking was. And then I just sort of, I don't know, I lapsed into just like, okay, this is the movie. And it was good. It ended. I think it is worthy of respect and admiration. I hope we get more movies like it, but I don't think we will, because it didn't elucidate anything from the audiences really. I'm sure critics liked it. Audiences did not respond, which, I mean, looking at it now that I've seen it, is totally predictable. And that's understandable, but sad. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say also see it. I both apologize and do not apologize for our review. I'm still putting it out. And we love you. We love you. We hope you're doing okay out there.
Yep.
And we'll see y'all in the next one.
Exactly. To Valhalla.
Enjoy your scalloped goat.
Scalloped goat.
Old man doing a podcast. Real weirdos. We have English degrees. Real weirdos. We talk about movies for way too goddamn long.